All right, my friends, let us finish up this worksheet together. So we're on the practice number 3, and we see a few things going on here. So just highlight where that absolute value bar is, right? Notice where it is. We want to get everything else on the other side. So we want to move this minus 15, and we also want to move this negative 5. So the first thing we're going to do is the negative 15. So to move that minus 15, we're going to add 15 to both sides. And then we have negative 5 times the absolute value of x minus 6. Negative 15 plus 15 cancel to 0. So we have greater than or equal to negative 20 plus 15 is negative 5. And then our next step is wanting to get rid of this negative 5. It's being multiplied. So we're going to divide at both sides by negative 5. And of course, because we're dividing by a negative, we're going to flip that sign. So we get the absolute value of x minus 6 is less than or equal to negative 5 divided by negative 5 is 1. And now we have the absolute value bar part completely alone. So we can make our two inequalities, x minus 6 less than or equal to 1, less than, so it's an and, x minus 6 greater than or equal to negative 1. Flip that sign, change the sign there. To solve this, now we just have one final step, adding 6 to both sides of the inequality. Negative 6 plus 6 cancels to 0. So we have x is less than or equal to 7, and x is greater than or equal to negative 1 plus 6 is 5. So we do have this or equal to symbols, so we want our closed circles on 7 and on 5, and it's greater than 5, less than 7. So it's that little area in between is where we will find all of our solutions. Beautiful. Question 4 on the right, again, notice that absolute value bar. So we need to get rid of this plus 4 and also this negative 3 that's being multiplied. So the first way to do that is we're going to subtract 4 on both sides, and we have negative 3 times the absolute value of x minus 1. 4 minus 4 is 0, and negative 8 minus 4 is a negative 12. Now we're going to get rid of this negative 3, and because it's being multiplied, we're dividing by a negative 3, and because we divide by a negative, we flip that sign. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1, so we just have the absolute value of x minus 1 is greater than, we flipped that sign because we divided by a negative, negative 12 divided by negative 3 is a positive 4. So our two inequalities become x minus 1 is greater than 4, and since we're starting with this greater symbol, we put or x minus 1 is less than negative 4. Now our last step is adding 1 on both sides to both of our inequalities, and we get x is greater than 5 or x is less than negative 3. So we're going to have an open circle on 5 and an open circle on negative 3. And we are shading, it is less than negative 3, so we're going to the left for negative 3. And then it's greater than 5, so we're going to the right. So there's our problems 3 and 4 on these absolute value inequalities. Make sure you got everything written down. And once you're all set, you can hit play again. So pause the video if you need to, because I'm going to erase the board in just a moment, and we'll take a look at the next ones. Question 5 and question 6. So for question 5, notice the absolute value of x plus 7 is already isolated. It is by itself. So we can make our two inequalities as x plus 7 greater than negative 4. Since we started with a greater, we put or x plus 7, flip the sign, is less than opposite of negative 4 is a positive 4. And all we have to do here is get rid of this plus 7. And because we're adding it, or because it's positive, we're just doing the opposite and subtracting 7 on both sides. 7 minus 7 is 0. So we have x is greater than a negative 11. Or x is less than a negative 3. Yeah, negative 3. Just checking that. Okay. So we're going to do open circles. We don't have a negative 11 here. So I'm just going to make this a little longer. Here's negative 10, and then there would be negative 11. And I'm going to put an open circle on negative 11 and also an open circle on negative 3. So we have greater than a negative 11, so it could be all of this, or less than a negative 3. So this is going to be an example of all real numbers, right? We have that whole number line highlighted. Okay. And again, that's because we have this absolute value, and when we take the absolute value of anything, it's going to be positive, and that's always going to be bigger than negative 4. So that makes sense that that would be all real numbers. Over on the right, we need to move this negative 2 that's being multiplied first. So we're going to divide everything by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 cancel, and we're left with the absolute value of x plus 7 is greater the negative 4 divided by negative 2, which is 2. And it's actually not greater, it's less than, my bad. We want to flip that symbol because we divided by a negative. So now we can write our two inequalities as x plus 7 less than 2 and x plus 7 greater than negative 2. Flipping the sign, taking the opposite. And then we'll just subtract our 7 on both sides to get rid of that plus 7. And we have x is less than negative 5 and x is greater than negative 9. So we're going to have some open circles on negative 5 and negative 9. And we want to fill in that space between because it's bigger than negative 9 and less than negative 5. And I think that was our last graphing problem. So again, pause the video if you need to. And when you're all set, we're going to scroll down. There's two little word problems down below. Yes, so number 7 says, at the Texas Design Company, the average starting salary is $33,600. That's the average that they make for a year salary. But the actual salary differs from the average as much as $1,560 or $1,560. So which inequality could be used to determine the salary? So the standard salary, or we're going to let x equal the salary of an employee. And if we subtract whatever the salary is from this average, that should be the most far it can be is 1,560 more or 1,560 less, which means we want it to be x minus our average. That difference has to be less than or equal to that 1,560. And we see that in option D for number 7. And we have one final question here, number 8. Scroll down when you're ready. It says a golf ball manufacturer puts approximately 390 golf balls in a box. But the box can be off by no more than 6 golf balls, right? Which means there might be 6 less than 390, or there might be 6 more than 390, but it will not be more than 6 off. So x is the number of golf balls in a box. And that difference of x with the approximate amount, which is 390, can be no more than 6. So that difference has to be less than or equal to 6. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit more confident with these absolute value inequalities. If you have any questions, send me a message. Let's find a time to meet. We can work on these together. Y'all are rocking it. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.